Hello there, fellow NPCs. I am Scythe, and today we're getting back into Everlasting Summer. We are currently going through the epilogue of Miku's Path, which turns out not to be Miku at all, but actually the actor Masha, who is just out here with the rest of the people from Everlasting Summer recording a movie. You know, we're all actors in a big fat movie, and Masha is not so very happy about the role she's playing, and actually kind of unhappy that she is no longer together with me, the director, the writer of Everlasting Summer. So yeah, we have just spent the night together, and now we're waking up, and I guess we'll see where it goes from here. So, let's go. An irresistibly blinding morning glare struck my eyes. I wasn't able to stretch. Masha was sleeping on my left arm. I barely managed to pull my limb from her under her head and massaged it for a long time, trying to restore the blood flow. Scratching my stubble, I reached for my shorts to find my cigarettes. Perhaps we shouldn't have gone that far yesterday after all. Now she definitely won't leave me alone. Well, probably not. That's not in her nature. But a bad aftertaste will still remain. And now she has an argument to scold me with, if I just give her a chance to. Yet another argument. It's not like she is short on them. Unable to find the cigarettes in my shorts, I thought that I must have left them behind in my cabin, so I clumsily dressed them and went outside. Oh Lord, let it rain at last. It's impossible to work in such an oven. And it's like this day and night and day. Rubbing my eyes, I plodded down the trail and didn't notice somebody coming until they ran right into me. It was Router, not electronic, a Router. Hi, Semyon. Hi there. Oh, so we're still called Semyon? I shouted after him. Finally, I came to the cabin, opened the door and entered. Olga Dmitrievna was inside. She drilled me with her gaze. Would you care to explain? What's the matter? Where did you spend the whole night? She looked more than menacing. I was with Masha. And what's the problem? After all, everyone got it already, so it makes absolutely no sense to hide it. With who? Olga Dmitrievna gave me a surprised glance. With Masha, I repeated calmly. Wait, what, really? Did we actually enter back into the Everlasting Summer? And this is Olga Dmitrievna, and that was electronic. And we woke up with Miku on our left arm. We don't have any Mashas here. Now it's my turn to be surprised. Semyon, your behavior is unbecoming of a true pioneer. Ah, are we shooting it already? But where are the cameras? I grinned. Semyon. Oh, come on. I headed to my bed and opened the drawer. However, my backpack wasn't there. Have you seen my backpack? A backpack? She looked at me in surprise. Yeah, it was here. But you arrived with that here without any luggage. What? I broke into a silly smile. And I still haven't finished yet. Olga Dmitrievna, I get that you're in the finest of moods this morning and you have an eagerness to joke around, but how can I feel fine when a pioneer, a future Komsomol member, is acting like that? A pioneer? A Komsomol member? Something is definitely going wrong. Olga Dmitrievna, have you slept well? Are you okay? How dare you to speak to me like that? What's your problem? To sum up, you need to be at the lineup in half an hour. As for me, I still need to find Miku. Miku? It looks like they just want to play a prank on us. Ma'am, yes ma'am. I saluted and marched out of the cabin. I have to go and tell Masha. She has a laughter with her. I vigorously pushed the cabin door open and ran in. Masha, you won't believe what the... Masha was sitting on the corner of the bed, an absolutely pale face, wrapping her arms around her legs. What happened? I leaped to her side. Lena just came in. Lena? But she wasn't planning to come for another 3 days. It wasn't our Lena. It was just something that looked like her. Okay, I'm actually getting goosebumps. Masha was trembling, and an expression of horror was on her face. Calm down. Let's take it slowly. She was talking about some kind of lineup, cleaning up the grounds, about the library, about the music club. Her breathing became rapid. And it wasn't a joke. I'm sure of it. I recalled the recent conversation with Olga Dmitrievna at once. Okay, calm down. I still haven't got a thing. It wasn't our Lena, it was Lena from your script. She raised her tear-filled eyes to me. I understood right away that this wasn't a joke, and my courage vanished. That's ridiculous. It just can't be... Though recalling the conversation with the director. No, I'm sure. She threw herself into my arms. I tried to calm her down. We have to think logically. It's just them trying to pull a prank on us, that's all. I was just talking to Olga Dmitrievna and she's what? Also looked unusual to me? Nah, I can't just say that to Masha. In the end, they will have their laugh and then quit it. No, something has happened. Something horrible. I'm sure of it. Masha was sobbing in my arms. Okay, let's get down to it. Let's talk to someone. For example, to Router. He surely isn't the main stand-up comedian in our hood. To tell the truth, at this point I was interested myself in finding out what kind of joke this was. One that can bring Masha, who is always calm and prepared for everything, to hysterics. Okay. She wiped away her tears and got up from the bed. Calm down now. I'm trying. Masha smiled faintly. Let's go. We left the cabin. Where to? Olga Dmitrievna was talking about some kind of lineup. Let's go to the square. Most likely they will be there. Masha took my hand, but let it go right away. I chose not to look in her direction because I already knew what expression she had on her face, and just headed to the square. The lineup, if that's the right term for people flocking around the moment, was quite crowded. I didn't recognize even half of the people here, and that fact was extremely strange on its own. Olga Dmitrievna tried to line them all up. I chose not to linger and went up to her. Olga Dmitrievna, you know... Oh, and Miku's here too. She interrupted me. Excellent, we'll talk after the lineup. What lineup are you talking about? Isn't that enough playing games? For God's sake, it's not funny anymore. She looked at me in confusion. What are you talking about? About that! Masha cautiously looked out from behind my back. Olga Dmitrievna, it really isn't funny anymore. I don't understand you two. Let's seriously get back to the shooting. What shooting? I looked at her attentively and for the first time realized that perhaps she wasn't joking. Olga Dmitrievna was never a decent actress, so I doubt that this expression of surprise and incomprehension was fake. What a mess! Okay, let's assume... Let's tell us your version. Version of what? She was still blinking her eyes while looking at my mouth. I got it. I grabbed Masha by her arm and headed away from the square. Hey, hold on! Where are you going? We had to find someone less insane. Olga Dmitrievna's shouts followed us, but I didn't pay any attention. Soon enough, we reached the clubhouse. According to the script, it ought to be right here. Let's go. Masha didn't reply, just followed my lead. I opened the door abruptly and walked in. Rado was there, as I had expected. What's happening? Ah, Semyon. And you're not alone. Hi there. Have you come here to join our club? Oh, right, no, this is supposed to be electronic. Yeah, right. Not router. It seemed that there was something wrong with him, too. Why aren't you at the lineup? I asked mischievously. Well, I got something to finish here. Whatever, just tell us what's going on here. Am I missing something? Just like Olga Dmitrievna, he stared at me with no sign of understanding. Why the heck is everyone around acting like we're real pioneers in a real pioneer camp? Isn't that the case? Is it? Well, actually. And what about the film? What film? The film. The one we're filming. Semyon, I really don't understand what you're talking about. It's only now that I realize that everyone around is calling me Semyon. Well, Sasha was calling me Semyon-kun too. But that was clearly a joke, while here... It's not a big thing, but my name is definitely not Semyon. Okay, something changed here. I stepped back in horror and tripped over Masha. She let out a short scream. And you, Miku? I wasn't listening. I snatched Masha's hand and ran out. I managed to halt only at the bus stop. As I turned around, I saw Masha gasping for breath. I let her go of her hand and sat down on the edge of the road. Looks like the two of us are in trouble. Don't you get it? Everyone here behaves exactly the same as it was written in my script. She stared blankly at me for some time, then she recovered. Yeah, a fair guess. But what? Why? Like I would know. So, what are we gonna do? I don't know. Masha was on the edge of bursting into tears. Oh, stop it! I really have no idea. How can I come up with a ready-made solution in this situation? I understand, but... After all, there is still a possibility of it all being a silly joke. Well, an overdone one. But what if... well, if... Then we'll act in accordance with the circumstances. I sighed and quickly stood up. Let's go eat something at least. Let's go eat something at least. I think that whatever is happening here, food will still be served. Masha gave a barely noticeable smile and followed me. The canteen was jam-packed. Even at the lineup, I noticed that there was many more people than there were yesterday. Did all these children really come here to an abandoned camp? No, there's something really wrong about that. However, food was being distributed, so me and Masha took trays and sat down separately from the others. I ate intently, trying not to raise my head from the plate and not to look at the surrounding people. However, it didn't help me much. In a couple of minutes, someone showed up near our table. I barely managed to raise my eyes and saw Lena. Can I? She asked quietly. Yeah, suit yourself. While I was thinking as to how I should answer, Masha pulled out a chair beside her and invited Lena to sit down with a gesture. You weren't yourself this morning, she began anxiously. Well, got up on the wrong side of the bed. Masha laughed nervously. Lena glanced at me and then quickly looked away. So, how's it going? I started with a more general questions. Fine. I see. I generally had no idea what we can discuss with her. Plus, Lena indeed looked pretty odd. While she was usually all fun and high spirits, now she looked extremely timid and shy. Did you hear anything about Slavia? What happened? Well, nobody has seen her since yesterday. It's like you two disappeared first, now you're here, but Slavia is... She left long pauses after each of her sentences. I still didn't get it. Either it's a completely perfect acting, or the being sitting in front of us wasn't our Lena. Nope. We haven't seen her. Well, I hope she will be back eventually. Yeah, we hope so too. Slavia. Sasha indeed could lose her way in broad daylight. That's hardly surprising. I was just finishing eating the rubber-like oatmeal when suddenly Olga Dmitrievna ran into the canteen, waving her hands. She looked around emotionlessly, and after a glance at me, she finally headed toward our table at a fast walk. Oh, here you are. Let's go have a talk. She hissed below her breath right at my face. Seeing that the objective wasn't worth it, so I got up, nodded to Masha, and we headed after Olga Dmitrievna. After we got outside, she turned her around abruptly and said, "So, where were you last night?" "Should you care?" I shrugged. "I should. Did you know that Slava is missing?" "Just heard that from Lena." "Exactly. I went searching for her and found her." "What's that supposed to mean?" "It looked like she was desperately fighting back tears." "That's good news then." "Come, let me show you," she said quietly and headed in the direction of the forest. I looked at Masha. "Maybe we shouldn't." What's wrong with it? However, my inner voice was agreeing with her. Alright then, but I'm afraid. Everything will be fine. I tried smiling, but even without a mirror, it was obvious that my smile was so fake that it made me sick. Soon enough, we came to a small glade. There. Olga Dmitrievna pointed at a tree. I took a few steps and suddenly spotted a detached human arm. What the fuck? I do not remember this! Holy shit! In fact, it wasn't even detached, more like it had been torn off. Masha peered out from behind my shoulder and screamed in terror straight away. "Don't look!" She burst into tears and rushed into Olga Dmitrievna's arms. I made a considerable effort. I had to look behind the tree to ensure that it was indeed Slavia. Body parts were lying there, an arm, a leg, ruptured in several places, a piece of flesh from the chest, a head with a hair clotted with blood and deeply sunken glassy eyes. I felt like vomiting and instinctively averted my gaze. Who did this? How would I know? Said Olga Dmitrievna in a surprisingly stone-cold voice. Throughout the camp you were the only ones without an alibi. Masha continued to cry, now on my shoulder. What? You seriously think that we were able to do this? I gazed at her in fury. Now it didn't matter that much what was happening here. Silly jokes or something more serious. A person had been murdered. A person who we knew. Slavia or Sasha, it makes no difference. Well, no. She hesitated. But someone did it after all. I would say wild animals, probably wolves. There were never any wolves around. So, you think a human could have done it? Well, there is no one else to blame. No, that makes no sense at all. You just can't. I hugged Masha tighter. Her sobbing became quieter. Anyway, we have to call the police. Of course we have to! Let's go! The district center is pretty far from the camp. The police won't get here anytime soon. Night was falling. I was sitting at the square and watching the sunset. Masha was sleeping in Olga Dmitrievna's cabin. It all shocked her much more than us. For many reasons. There were two main questions in my mind. First, what is happening here? And second, who murdered Slavia? Or Sasha? Anyway, who's the murderer? The first one could be postponed for the time being. But I still had no clue how to deal with the second one. Despite all the confusion, the conclusion of her being savaged by a wild beast seemed to be the most reasonable explanation. I don't care if there are any wolves here or not. It could even be a bear or a badger, but certainly not a human. No one would be able to do something like that without additional tools. And the type of wounds made it clear that the unfortunate victim had been dismembered with bare hands or paws. Though it's true enough that an enraged human can gain nearly superhuman strength. But of all people gathered here, who would be able to do something like that? Browder? Lena? Maybe Olga Dmitrievna herself? No, that's stupid. But even so, there were many children apart from them in the canteen and at the square. But am I really going to interrogate every single one of them? That's the job for the police. Then what's there to be afraid of? Maybe I'm not afraid for myself, but for Masha. Right, I need to check how she's doing. I was just about to get up when suddenly I sensed someone's presence. I looked back and saw Lena. Oh, I didn't want to scare you. It's okay. Can I sit here? Yes, sit down, please. She fixed her skirt with a neat move, sat down and started staring at the sunset. How sad is all this? Yeah, not much to rejoice about. What do you think? Who could have done that? How should I know? Certainly not me, and why does Lena know that Slav is already dead? They cannot have made that a public announcement, as a public announcement. No, it's not like I suspect you or anything. She began waving her hands in a funny manner. Well, thanks for that, I smirched sadly. But that must have been done by a very cruel, very evil person. Well, not necessarily. Lena glanced at me in confusion. Maybe it was a one-off delusion. After all, in everyday life, maniacs can be the nicest of people. So, you're saying that? Her eyes widened and her jaw dropped a little. That it could have been done by any one of us? Well, I'm not asserting that, that's for sure, but the circle of suspects is quite large. No, none of the children could do that. No one. Anyway, it's up to the police to deal with it. We spent some time sitting in silence. I was about to leave when Lena suddenly whispered. Or could you? What? An unnatural grin appeared on her face. Yeah, that's weird. A devil's grin. So I thought. Could you have murdered Slavia? Of course not. But you two didn't get along very well. We didn't? What do you mean? Why do you think so? We were getting along just fine. It suddenly became clear that Lena, most likely, is not talking about me. Yeah, more precisely, not the me from yesterday. Oh, is it one of the other Semyons that has appeared here? The one we met in the first run that was torturing and killing everyone. And not the Slavia whose name is Sasha. I was sure about that. No, it wasn't me. Okay, relax. I'm not accusing you. She gave me a look, and for a second her eyes seemed red to me. Maybe it was just a reflection of the sunset. I'm glad you got everything right. But it was you who said that everyone is worth suspecting. I didn't tell you to suspect everyone. I meant that we don't know who the criminal is. Yet. Oh, I see. Well, I hope I don't become the next victim. Lena said loudly and burst out laughing. The way she did it gave me the creeps. Okay, it's time to go. She got up and swiftly left the square. I chose not to linger and headed to Olga Dmitrievna's cabin. It was now completely dark. Masha was still sleeping, so I decided not to wake her up and quietly climbed in next to her. Our director, or the camp leader as the local residents kept referring to her, was still nowhere to be seen. If she enters now, it will all get very uncomfortable. Well, it might at the very least. Anyway, who cares? A person has been murdered. It's not the time for such trifles. And anyway, we still have to find out what's going on. Why does everyone keep acting like they are pioneers? It seems to me that until it becomes clear who the real criminal is, this whole ridiculous carnival won't stop. The real question was, what is the cause and what is the effect? Either everyone keeps pretending because Slavia was a murderer, I still couldn't accept that Sasha was the victim, so I kept telling myself that it was indeed Slavia. Or Slavia was killed because everyone keeps pretending. Damn it. I got lost entirely, and such brainstorming is not going to get me anywhere. The door creaked faintly. Cautiously, I rose on my elbows a bit and peered into the darkness. A few torturous moments passed, but ultimately, no one came in. Well, I guess it's no use to just lie down and wait. Right now, it's probably just the wind blowing or something like that. But this late at night, when everyone is asleep, I stood up, grabbed my trousers in the dark and looked around. It was hardly probable that I might find something that could be used as a means of self-defense here. But at least I had to give it a try. Rummaging through the cabin's contents, I stumbled upon a locked drawer inside the cabinet. Sure, I'd love to find a gun or at least some kind of heavy crowbar there. However, I totally understood that it really shouldn't hold my breath for one. But it had to be locked for a reason. I pushed the cabinet from the wall, estimated where exactly on the back side that drawer was, and gave it a sharp and precise, so I would not wake Masha up, kick with my legs. The plywood cracked and some things spilled forth from the drawer. Underwear. More underwear. Matches. Oh, they might just come in handy. I shoved the matchbox into my pocket, and at the same moment I heard some strange noises from outside the door, as if some wild animal was scratching on it. Surely, if that is the real criminal, I won't stand a chance against him. But one shouldn't shrug off the possibility that it was the work of a local pioneer, who may have gone crazy or who was just insane from the start. Anyway, I should still be able to knock out any of the local residents, even if he came at me with a knife. Thinking about a weapon gave me the creeps. No, I shouldn't be so overconfident. Ever get into an encounter with someone who is, for example, armed with a knife, then I must shut the door, barricade all entrances and wait for help. You probably couldn't get hold of a firearm here. Although... The door creaked once more and opened up about an inch. I closed my eyes for a second and violently pulled it open, gathering all my strength. Alyssa? I heard a choked scream and saw Alyssa spread-eagled on the doorstep. Oh, it's just you. I heaved a sigh of relief. Don't scare people like that. Want to give me a heart attack? She got up, dusted her clothes off it slowly, and glanced at me guiltily. I'm sorry. It's fine, it's just... It could be dangerous to walk around the camp during the night. What with all the stuff that's happening. I stopped short. Happening implies an ongoing process. As if something was still going to happen. I mean, happened. That's why I came. Alyssa was looking at the ground and trembling slightly. It's already late, but Juliana is still nowhere to be seen. She raised her eyes to me, and I saw tears running down her cheeks. Where could she have gone? It wasn't like I was really concerned, but I asked her because I felt that I had to calm the situation. It was perfectly clear that there was absolutely nothing to do in this camp at night. If there's electricity available, then everyone watches movies on their laptops. If not, then they just read books by candlelight. Wandering under the moon shouldn't be on that list. I don't know. Okay, let's think through it without any fuss. I walked over the table and picked up the clock. It's midnight. Sure, everyone should be already at their cabins by this time. A scary thought suddenly flashed through my mind. Where's Olga Dmitrievna? Let's go outside and talk there. Don't want to make up Miku. As we went out, I took a place by the stars and started to think. Alyssa stood beside me, wringing her hands with a pained look on her face as she watched the full moon rise. We have to call the police. We've already called them. But back then it was only Slavia, and now it's also Liana. And Olga Dmitrievna, have you seen her? No, but what, is she too? Alyssa burst into tears. We still don't know anything, but nevertheless, it's clear that something's going on here. Even if they're not just pretending to be pioneers and something really has happened to the world, right now I could have quite a good chance of departing from it without getting any answers for my questions. So I had to focus on survival. Survival. The word hit like a sharp pain to the back of the head. Survival. Just yesterday I didn't need to give the slightest consideration to anything like that. The quiet summer night was raining over everything around us. Not a breath of wind, not a rustle of grass or a whisper of moving leaves could be heard. Nothing. Just the reflection of the moonlight in the cabin windows, sparse clouds up in the sky, and yet impenetrable darkness all around. They say that when you gaze into the abyss also gazes into you. And the grasshoppers. These damned critters are pulling a double shift of DJing. As if they're constantly on duty. As the day shift winds up, the night shift, who gets enough sleep, begins. Then the night ones knock off, and I have to find some insecticide after all. At least I can wipe out a couple of divisions. With any luck, that would get me some quiet living space around this cabin. Sure, I can't destroy them all. What the heck, there's probably more of them than there are humans in the entire world. Can you hear it? Alyssa sat down and huddled up against me. Her entire body was trembling. What? I strained my ears. It seemed that somebody was slowly walking down the path to our cabin. I couldn't make anything out in the dark, but the steps grew more and more audible with every second. Okay, don't sweat it. He won't dare to attack the two of us. Although I wasn't really sure about that. My hands instinctively started to search for something I could use to defend myself. Hey! Sorry. Soon enough I found a piece of water pipe underneath the bench. It's not much help, of course. It's way too thick and uncomfortable to wield properly, but it's still better than going out empty-handed. The mere sight of this monstrosity would make anyone pee themselves. Most likely from laughter. There's nothing I can do. We're as good as sitting ducks here, so I'd rather move out towards the enemy. I couldn't say that I was bursting with color and valor. In fact, it was quite the opposite. I was really freaking out. It just seemed that I had no other choice. I took a deep breath and slowly headed into the darkness. Soon enough, I could make out more features of the stranger's silhouette. Not very tall, weird hairstyle, a skirt. That ought to be Lena. I lowered my guard. What are you doing here this late at night? Lena's face was stained with tears. Come on. I led her to Alyssa. As Lena was coming back to her senses, she tried to explain what happened. I was just sitting alone, and it's already quite late, but Miku is still missing, yet what happened to Slavia, and I still couldn't reconcile this image of Lena, a sobbing girl sitting in front of me, with the one that I saw at the square a few hours ago, with a grin of the devil and hellish flames in her eyes. Maybe it was just my imagination. Or maybe not. By any chance, do you know where Uliana and Olga Dmitrievna are? She raised her surprised eyes to me. No. Why? Are they also missing? Well, so far we can't be sure. Semyon. At first I didn't realize that she was addressing me. Huh? Don't you think that it's way too quiet in the camp? It's night, everyone's sleeping, aren't they? I strained my ears. Indeed, there were no sounds besides these damned grasshoppers. I mean, no sound whatsoever. What is this place usually like? Quiet, whispered Lena. Quiet, but not this quiet. I couldn't let girls fall into a panic. Although I was starting to freak out myself. Yet there were a lot of reasons to. Human disappearing into thin air, horrible murders, friends that pretend to be pioneers until the very end. I was ready to lose it. Okay, let's think irrationally. The girls gave me a few questioning looks. People can't just disappear without a trace. That means... Nope, it doesn't mean anything. Suddenly we heard a rustle in the bushes behind the cabin. Why is everyone showing up here? Before I could even grab my pipe, Rowder emerged from the darkness. Ah, here you are. He didn't seem to be at all concerned by all the stuff happening around. Oh Lord, stop jumping out at people like that. The girls are gonna have a heart attack at this rate. Although I wasn't sure who was more frightened, them or me. Yeah, I apologize. Why have you come? Have you seen Shurik? We haven't. It looks like half the camp just disappeared in the last few hours. Plus, it's too quiet around here. We noticed that already. There's no light anywhere, dead silence. Oh, don't you start whipping up the tension here. I feel sick already. What am I doing? I'm not doing anything. He flashed a mysterious smile that gave me the creeps. Okay, you stay here and I'm gonna scout around the camp. Alone? Yeah, that probably wasn't exactly the brightest idea. I have to think first, then speak. I'll go with you. Okay, then you just stay here. And don't forget that Miku is still sleeping in the cabin. Sir, yes sir. What a dork. If he gave me that dopey smile in any other situation. About half an hour later, our search brought us to the square. All the cabins were empty. It looks like there are only the 5 of us left in the camp. I limped along with a pipe of mine. It appears to be so lightweight at first, but after carrying it for some time I've learned that one can get worn out even carrying a bag of feathers. Where on earth is everyone? At least I appeared to be more or less calm. The horror of the first minutes, when we were going from one empty cabin to another, had already passed. Well, at least we can be sure that it's not the same case, or whatever happened to Slavia. Why is that? Just think, where are the bodies? I said in a whisper, fearful of scaring her. But where is everyone then? Disappeared? Hardly a credible explanation. But if you think about it, nothing whatsoever that happened during the last 24 hours had been credible. They couldn't just go and... just like that. It's not like anything is up to us now. And in any case, tomorrow is still another day. I tried to put on a smile. Let's rejoin the others. Yeah, agreed Alyssa with a hint of indecisiveness. We'd only taken a few steps when a rustle in the bushes came from behind. What do you mean? I instantly turned around and peered towards the source of sound. Alyssa clung to my hand so hard that it hurt and tightened my grip on the pipe. Who's there? No idea. I strained my eyes, but still couldn't make out anything in the darkness. Hey! I had no idea what to do next. The rustling suddenly cut off, and the night returned to just the usual cricket fiddling. Could it be some wild animal? I wondered with a feeling of insecurity. Wild animal? She gripped my hand even tighter. But there are no wild animals around here. A squirrel, for example. I don't know. A squirrel? Yeah, a squirrel. Well, maybe. Shall we go? Yeah. A minute later we were approaching Olga Dmitrievna's cabin. Rauda and Lena remained silent, just shuddered slightly when they saw us. So, how is it? No one out there. What do you mean, no one? Everyone's gone, said Alyssa through her tears. The girls rushed into each other's arms and sat down next to Rauda, finally dropping that boring pipe of mine to the ground. It's just that simple? Just that simple. But how? I really don't know. Maybe it's an alien abduction. What nonsense. Wanna play detective, Sherlock? Well, it could be the same maniac. It's kind of way too much for just one man, don't you think? I guess you're right, but who? What is it then? It still could turn out to be just a stupid prank. And Slavia too? That's all just a stupid prank? No, she was definitely murdered by someone. But who? He gave me a narrow gaze. I have no idea. Maybe it was you. I was starting to get wound up. Or you! Not me for sure. How can you prove it? Why on earth should I have to explain myself to you? You're the only one without an alibi. Oh, so you have an alibi, huh? I was in my cabin at night. Shurik can prove it. Except that he's missing. Sure, but Shurik's temporarily unavailable. Roderick gritted his teeth and turned away. Anyway, I'm the only one with an alibi here. And I am not going to justify myself here. I'm sure about myself. It's great to believe in yourself. I'm sure about it. I'm also sure about myself, and Miku can prove me right. I was with her all the time. Not exactly the best witness. Just as good as yours. I have no idea how long we could have argued like that if Lena hadn't intervened in the conversation. Boys, come on, that's enough. You're right. Sorry. Yeah. Indeed. Now is not the best time for something like this. Anyway, we should stick together. Would it help keep us from disappearing? Asked Alyssa timidly. I'm not sure about all that disappearance stuff, but at least it should help us to stay alive. I glanced at my watch. It's almost 4 o'clock. The sun will be rising soon. Okay, squad, time to eat the hay, or we're gonna end up totally wiped out. But, no buts. Nobody else tried to object, and we entered the cabin quietly. Huh? What's happening? Seems like we woke Masha up. It's okay. Keep sleeping. But she was already sitting up on the bed and staring blankly at our little party. Well, you see this. They're all gone. Disappeared. Everyone's gone. Lena burst into tears and flung her arms around Masha's neck. What? What's going on? Can you speak clearly? Well, long story short, I cracked my neck and compulsively reached for the cigarette in my pocket, finding none. I heaved a sigh of frustration and said, "It looks like there are just the 5 of us left in this camp." Meaning everyone in this room. Rejoice, Captain Obvious has returned. You're gonna keep watch first. Huh? Oh, nothing. Do you really think that it's safe for everyone to sleep at the same time? Well, it isn't, but... Exactly. I handed him the pipe and slowly approached the bed where Lena was still sobbing in Masha's arms. Well, if you don't mind... I slipped my boots off, climbed over the girls and turned towards the wall. But how? Anyhow, sleep. I was so exhausted, both physically and more importantly, emotionally, that I was unable to do anything, think anything, communicate with anybody. I was desperate to get some sleep. Way too desperate. Yeah, he is being very nonchalant about this whole thing. I mean, I get that he's tired and all, but he's still ignoring the fact that everyone else is still wound up like crazy. Masha's whispers, Lena's sobs, Alyssa's voice, all that has somehow melted into one quiet lullaby. And so, I fell asleep. I was forcibly awakened by someone doing their best to shake me. But that will be the end of today's episode. Bam! I was not aware that Miku's ending was this long. This is one hell of an epilogue, my guys. Gotta say that, but we're also entering a completely different kinds of story. I do remember that Miku's ending was about him being in a movie, but I did not remember that it was going to be like this, where people were being killed and stuff. So that's fun and that's interesting. I like that. So yeah, that's it for today's episode. Thank you guys for watching, and thank you Josef for donating directly to my Ko-fi page. If you guys want to help me out, you can do so by clicking the link down in the description. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll be seeing you guys in the next one. Goodbye everyone.